Welcome back to Backward Point Podcast. My name is Nazar Sayed, and I'm alone here today. Bashar is on vacation today. Is the first day that he's out. We had an incredible guest lined up for today's podcast, but everything has been topsy-turvy. Up is down is up, left is right, etc. The guest was supposed to be Shayan from Shayan Plays Cricket. He's been a frequent guest on the pod before, and the internet in my area has just been down for the past 3 days. So we watched this game on a 5G network on YouTube. Thank you for the PCB for doing that for us. But we weren't really able to use the internet for anything else. And so that interview fell through, and I found myself sitting alone watching Babar's century, his 32nd century, elusive 32nd century, and just feeling deeply, deeply emotional. And so I thought today I would do something that, regards a little bit of discomfort, which is opening myself up to what this century means, what this win means in the context of not only Pakistan cricket, but in the context of Pakistan itself. And, we'll start with the obvious. What it means to be on the other side of century number 32 for Babar Azam. I've mentioned many times on this podcast before that my son was born during the ODI World Cup of 2023. He was born actually on the eve of the Pakistan-India game, 13th October 2023. And so just a few months before that was when Babar scored that 158 against Nepal, and that was the last ODI century he scored since. And it was a running joke on the podcast that, my son Mikhail has never seen Babar Azam score a century in his life. Today, that has changed. That has officially changed today. And I'm so glad that that's happened, because I never thought that I'd see the day. Actually, I'm not being like facetious or rage baity at all. I just thought that the Babar Azam that we were seeing on our screens was just a shell of the Babar Azam that we grew to know and love. And maybe we would have gotten a knock here and there that was as good, or a match-winning knock, but I don't know if we were collectively ready for him to cross that milestone. And so when today he was in his 60s and 70s, I told my editor, as we've told many times before, to book or to write or to create the post that would go up when he hits his 32nd century. And just as like a reminder, I was like, don't go super hard on it. We probably won't see it today again. And then the runs started pouring in, and it was a very safe innings that, off the start of the bat, was that I could sense that something was definitely brewing. He was knocking his ones and twos, wasn't playing anything ultra aggressive, wasn't making a mistake per se. I don't think there was a single chance in this entire innings that would have brought Sri Lanka closer. The target on the board was not enough for it to have any sort of pressure on Babar to do anything radical. And so I was just watching this, once in a lifetime batter knocking himself from 60 to 65 to 70, 72. And then he hit a drive, and then he hit a pull shot, and he's suddenly in his 80s. And I felt my palm getting sweaty, and I felt me like I was watching it on my phone, and I was just getting closer and closer into my face. And I was like, what is happening to me right now? And I realized that for 2.5 years, I just internalized the fact that Babar might not have another century in him. And as we got closer and closer and closer to that milestone, I felt myself walk myself into the nervous 90s. I was in the nervous 90s. I'm not even thinking about Babar Azam, the cricketer, right now. I'm thinking about myself as the fan. And obviously, the context of the game then weighs in on me. I'm looking at this game that technically wasn't even supposed to happen. The second ODI in this Pakistan-Sri Lanka series technically was not even supposed to happen because of, outside influences, security lapse, security threats, a fear within the management that this is not the place where the Sri Lankan team wants to be. A lot of players wanted to pull out. We had to get a call in from the Interior Minister / PCB Chairman / narcotics minister. We had to get a call even higher above that. Field Marshal Asim Munir called the I believe the Defense Commissioner of Sri Lanka letting him know that everything is all good. A lot of pieces had to fall into place. The game was supposed to be played yesterday, got played today. And I'm looking at these moving pieces in my head, and I'm like, which one of these decisions opened up the opportunity for Babar to score a century? Because something had to align itself the way that it did for Babar to actually break that mold. And he had gotten close before. I think 80 odd was his highest score previously. I think it was against South Africa. He had gotten close before, but he just something was lapsing. And he would either get himself run out, or he would get a Jaffer, or he would just play a loose shot or mid wicket. Something or the other was to happen. And so as he's in his 80s and he's like playing pretty smoothly and safely, I'm looking at Hasaranga and how many overs he has left. And I'm looking at Chamira and how many overs he has left. And I'm like, if he sees out Hasaranga, he might be actually be able to do this. And on the other side is Rizwan, who's also like going aggressive and taking his shots and making sure that he gets the brunt of the run chase over with, so that it's a smoother sailing. And I'll get back to Rizwan in a second, because I think people were a little hard on him for playing those radical shots in that context of the game. But I think that really, really loosened up Babar Azam to go at his pace for this elusive 32nd. And then when he gets it in the 90s, I'm like, oh, whoa, this is happening. This is definitely happening. And I locked myself in the spare room in my house, away from my child, wife, parents, Bashar, not even in the house. And I was like under the covers watching it in fear that if I move or if I say anything, if anybody on the chat, our Patreon chat was blowing up, if anybody says anything, I was very close to muting it. I was that jinxed up that something might happen. And then my designer or graphic designer, Hassan, texted us. It was like, what if he just is not out on 99 and like Rizwan finishes this game off? Because Rizwan was going really rapid. He edged a few. He hit one for 6. And I was like, dang, I don't know. The permutation and combinations in my head of how this game could end were so many. And then he was on 93 and he hit a boundary. I was like, no, I think he has this covered. And he took 3 singles after that. And when I tell you the sigh of relief that I let out as a Pakistan cricket fan, I felt like I was holding that breath since his Nepal century, since the World Cup in 2023, since the Asia Cup, since T20 World Cup, since name historic tournament series here, and our expectation of this great man, and how we all collectively as a Pakistan cricket fan base held our breaths when he was in his 40s, 50s, 60s, 80s. It just was not happening. And then when he hit that pull shot for 1, it was a celebration that really got to me. That made me believe that this meant more to him than it will ever mean to us. As a fan base, as a Pakistan cricket fan base, as a Babar Azam fan base, this will mean more to him than all of our worries and affirmations combined. I want you guys to go back and really grasp his celebration. When Babar Azam hits his 32nd century, he does not jump in the air. He doesn't punch the air. He doesn't shoot guns from his bat. He goes on his knees. Cricket, the great leveler, just goes on his knees, the humility on his shoulders, the monkey off his back. It just it reaffirms the love that I have for the game. Like, this game can be brutal and unforgiving for most of us. If you're a Pakistan cricket fan, for most of your life, you have felt the brute end or the stick end of this game. Every now and then, the game is gracious. And it gives you moments like these where a 2.5-year wait just lets you get down on your knees, look into the heavens, and just say thank you for the love of this game, for the love of this country, for the love of this fan base. Just say thank you. And then Babar goes into a sajda, comes back up, smiles, holds back tears. You just know the feeling that the fan base had, the feeling that you have when Babar scored that century. I want you to zone into that. I want you to really zoom into that specific feeling and then multiply that by 100. That is the feeling that Babar Azam probably had. Not even close, probably, to what this meant to him. For 2.5 years, people built their entire YouTube channels off of this, by the way. Just nagging and bitching about Babar Azam. And every now and then we would get conflated into that era or into that content sphere, even if you're being slightly critical of him. Is his strike rate low in T20s? Yes. Should he have improved it? Yes. Should he have improved some on some shots here and there? Yes. Is he rushing through his innings and just trying to get to the 100? Yes. There was some generically, there was some genuinely positive criticisms as well. Like, hey, you should work on this, and this will yield uh, fruitful results. Like, Bob Rasmus should probably get a sweep shot or a lap shot. And guess what? Third T20 against South Africa, he plays 4 or 3 of them, and all of them go for boundaries. And he hits, the left armor spinner, figure spinner for boundaries as well, because that has been his kryptonite for a very long time. And because of the noise and the noise, I would say, because of the noise, a lot of people were missing the signal that the criticism was also trying to implore. And genuinely, people have built entire YouTube careers, commentary careers on just shitting on Babar Azam. And I'm just glad that Backward Point had never been that apparatus. And just look at the articles. Look at the way that people have been talking about Babar Azam. Look at his own team. Dropped from test matches. Should never have happened. Dropped from ODIs. Should never have happened. Pushed him up to the batting order. Pushed him down to the batting order again. Dropped from T20Is. There should be, some relevance to that take, but he's back and he proved himself why he's there. This is his second man of the match or player of the match award in the past 3 weeks. Something is or was brewing within Babar Azam. And today, it's all been let out. Congratulations to Pakistan cricket fans for waiting what felt like eternity to see the other side of number 32. For me, like, personally speaking, like, when that happened after the game ended, I went out, I hugged my son because he loves cricket. He's 2.5. He loves cricket. He watches cricket on the TV. Our entire house is cricket obsessed, as you can tell. And he has a little plastic bat and plastic balls, and he plays in the living room and the TV lounge and everywhere he can find a space. And he loves cricket. He doesn't know any of the players, but the one name he can say is Babar. Mainly because it's close to saying Baba, but Babar and Baba, he can say that. And I went to him and I just hugged him and I was like, bro, it happened. It finally happened. And we watched highlights. He was watching with us. Obviously, he has no idea what happened. Babar's 36. He doesn't know. But for me, someone who is a diehard Babar Azam fan, it just connected two very important things for me in the emotional side to the side that loves Pakistan cricket. And again, like, I am extremely happy that this happened. These are extremely positive signs for Babar Azam moving forward. We have just look at how many podcasts just Backward Point has done on, is Babar back? When will Babar be back? Where is Babar? What is wrong with Babar? Jared Kimber says there's something wrong with the foot. Batting coach says there's something wrong with the pull shot. He's late on the ball, fourth stump. He can't play the left arm spinner. Just on and on and on and on. If that was the noise that was being heard on this side of the podcast, imagine Babar Azam. The one thing that this job has given us is the privilege to be close to players. And we actually spoke with Babar in Florida and hung out with him just a little bit, not too much. And people were very critical of us. Hey, we posted a dump of the Florida trip. Where was Babar Azam? Every single player that we posted on that dump, we have a professional / personal understanding with. I would love to have that with Babar Azam. And I think Bashar, if you're sitting across from me, would say the same thing. We would love to have a professional / personal relationship with Babar. We are huge fans, but we just don't want a fangirl with him. We want a real relationship with him. And I'm sidetracking again. And again, forgive me, no notes, going off the top of the dome. But the thing that struck me about Babar, meeting him in Florida, was just how poised he was. Everybody that met him kept telling him, it's coming, don't worry about it, it's coming. And, we talked to management, we talked to coaches and batting coaches and players and everybody. And everybody was like, it's around the corner, everybody can smell it. And when it finally happens like this, man, it's insane. So I was talking about the privilege of meeting and knowing these players. You quickly realize that Naseem Shah, even though he's Pakistan star player. He's in all the ads, billboards. He's 22 years old, 7 years younger than me. These guys are guys. They're kids. Most of them are kids. Babar is a senior statesman at 31. I'm not even 30 yet, but I can imagine that's not that far away from me. These guys are just kids at the end of the day. And the weight and the pressure of entire nations, entire fan bases are upon their shoulders. We would love them to be a lot more professional than they are. 100%. Like, I've already seen some weird tweets from Amr Jamal and all, we talked about Fahim Ashraf on this podcast before. Should they be more mature? Should they understand the context of their place in the legacy of Pakistan and Pakistan cricket? Yes. At this point, they don't, unfortunately. They're kids that have special talents in this sport of stick and ball. And most of us forget that. Most of us will never have the privilege to go out and see them in person and meet them and see them out of their element and see how they just have fun looking at, memes on their phone or listening to songs or sharing jokes or making fun of each other. Like, they're just kids. And I think Babar, he was 29 when he scored his last century. I am 29 right now. And just if I had the weight of the entire nation in a fan base like that on my shoulders, I would have been crippled. I would have been crippled. So give Babar Azam the kudos he deserves, because he deserves a lot of praise for the way that he handled the past 2.5 years. I watched his press conference post-match, and the reporters ragging him on, trying to make him say something bad about somebody that ridiculed or messed him up in the past 2.5 years. And he said, I ignored everybody. If I haven't said anything to them before, I'm not going to say anything to them now. And I think that just shows where he is now in his journey. Maybe the captaincy had gotten to his head. Maybe the Ramiz Raja era administration of absolute power for the absolute captain may have corrupted him a little bit. I'm not sure. Something definitely happened after 2023 that took this long to set right. And I think the ship has been righted. Obviously, we don't want 32 to be the last one of Babar Azam, but I'm hoping this is a watershed moment that opens up the gates for Pakistan. If Babar Azam gets back into the prime form, the 2022 form that we know him from, man, that World Cup in less than 6 months could be insane. Could be amazing. I would love to see what he does later into the Tri-Series. I would love to see what he does in the Big Bash. And then if there is an Australia series, apparently there is. And then the World Cup, man. This is going to be an insane run. Congratulations again to Pakistan cricket fans. Congratulations again to just Babar Azam fans, everybody who supported him throughout. I think this is a victory, not for one, but for all. The parasocial relationship that we have created with Babar as Pakistan cricket fans, this is the day to rejoice for all of those who are deep into that. If you're a Pakistani, you understand this better than anybody else. We don't really have much to rejoice in our country. Things get bleaker and darker and more frightful for everybody within the borders of Pakistan, and whoever has left, they leave a part of them within those borders as well. If you look at the political system, you're always like, oh, what's going on here? What's going on there? You're always just disheartened by whatever is happening. And cricket has always been, as I've said, the one respite for the common man. People call it Qazi Akbar calls it the opium of the masses. Sure, I'll smoke that or eat it or whatever you do with opium, sniff it, all you want. If this is the end result, if I get to feel like this every now and then, this is what it's always been about. For Babar Century, the one last thing I want to say, I said this before as well. I was reading a book on Bruce Springsteen, on his album Nebraska, which is not his most famous album, but regarded by most his best album. And the beauty about that album that he says himself is that he didn't know he was making an album when he was recording those songs. The brief story of Nebraska is that he was recording demos alone in his room, the songs that he'd written for months. He was recording them in these 2 nights or 3 nights. And he tried to make the studio recording sound like that. He tried to make all of the bells and whistles in the studio make it sound like it did on the demos that he recorded alone in his room. And nothing made it sound as authentic and as real as it did in that moment. So at the end of the day, he just puts out whatever he had haphazardly recorded in his room out into the world. And it is my favorite Bruce Springsteen album. If you're a Bruce Springsteen fan, it might be yours as well. It's dark, it's dreary, but it comes from a place of pure bliss and pure um, reverence and reality. Like this is the world that Bruce had lived in, and he comes out and portrays it in the best possible way, which is just this artifact in time. But I keep going back, and that line that hey, I wasn't set out to make an album. It just happened like that. It sticks with me because I was trying to relate it to cricket before as well in the podcast, and I had some time to ruminate over it. When a batsman goes out there, like when Siam was opening with Fakhar, nobody's thinking about a century in their heads. They're just thinking about the next delivery that comes in, and then the next, and then the next. And then pretty much before you know it, you're in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Maybe when you're in the 80s and 90s, you start thinking about your century, but it doesn't happen on the first delivery you're playing. And that's the only way to make a century. If you go out there and you plan to make a century, you most likely will A, be selfish, B, be extremely reductive in your batting and defensive, and probably will get out cheaply with consuming a lot of resources, which are the deliveries. I think today was the best example of Babar's Nebraska. He didn't go out there to make a century. He just was there to knock his singles, knock his doubles. Every now and then he'd get a bad ball, get his fours. And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, we'll wait another couple of days. We'll see what happens on Sunday. And that is the beauty of this century. This is not his best century by all means. It was a short total, 288 on a flat track in Pindi. And he went out there and he just did what it demanded to be done by him. By the way that Bruce was he just had to write these songs and he just did them. And then once you put them on paper, once you put them on pitch, once you connect leather to bat, the end result is this. Sometimes you push through a barrier like Bruce did with that album. And then the further story along is that at the end of that album, he finds himself in this very dark place, Bruce Springsteen does, and realizes he has depression. And then he works on that for the next 30 years and comes out still touring and making great music for everybody. If Babar comes out of that century feeling like, yeah, it was all worth it. I think I got my mojo back. Then bring it on, right? There have been already a lot of voices comparing and talking about just the pure coincidence of Babar hitting his first century in 84 innings, and that was the same amount of time in terms of innings that Virat Kohli had when he was on a drought. The difference is massive in the number of centuries they both had. I think Virat was hitting his 71st, and Babar has just hit his 32nd. So there's a huge chasm of just quality between Babar and Virat. But it is important to say that the most important batsman of the last 2 decades for India has been Virat Kohli, and the most important batsman for the last 2 decades for Pakistan has been Babar Azam. And they both have gone through this chasm together and have come out on the same number of innings. I think it has to say something. I'm not making any comparisons. I just think not everything in the world is a coincidence. And after that century that Virat scored, they went on to win two straight ICC trophies. I don't know if that's exactly the fate that Babar Azam will find himself in, but it's definitely something that I am keenly looking upon, especially with 2 back-to-back tournaments coming up within 18 months of each other. The T20 World Cup in Feb, and then I believe the ODI World Cup is going to be somewhere around that time in 2027 as well. If you want to talk about the game at all, Pakistan just beat South Sri Lanka 2-0 right now, up in the ODI series. Pakistan have definitively won this series. Their 4th straight ODI series win against Sri Lanka. This was just a thrashing in all parts. And the bowling could have been better for Pakistan, especially in the first 10 overs. It's been sort of the case where Pakistan is not able to take a lot of wickets in the power play, especially with no Shaheen today. That was a little bit more of a task. But I'm okay with the Hassan management going in there and trying out Wasim Jr. and Naseem Shah and Abrar Ahmed and getting everybody, and Haris Rauf as well, getting everybody game time and getting everybody bowling time. I think it's very important for these guys to get as much game time as possible. When the crunch moment comes, we don't come back to a 2023 moment where we're just looking for spinners all over the world and we're not able to find a single one. And so I'm all game for this tactic. And as long as we're trying things out and Pakistan is winning games, I think the curve is just going up to the right. And that's exactly where we want it to go. I think a lot of shackles have probably been broken in these past few hours. I think a lot of people have felt relaxed, relieved, their faith in Pakistan cricket a little bit more restored, which is always a dangerous thing. But here we are again. Not in this podcast that we have unwavering faith at all. A lot of positives to gain from this one win. Some of the stuff has a ripple effect that, um, you know, we may see down the line in the ICC World Cup. I'm being genuine here. Um, my prediction had always been that the century is coming in this season. I just thought it was going to be the T20 eyes, but I think I was trying to misdirect my own feelings as to not putting pressure on the ODI series. I had a friend who texted me who watches all the podcasts. Shout out Sadik. He was like, bro, you have the worst takes. Your takes age like milk. And then I was like, which one are you specifically talking about? And he said this one. And I was like, I think I was mentally telling myself or trying to unjinx whatever jinx I think I may have had. Because the past 2 years, you talk to any boxing cricket fan, you talk to any Babar Azam fan, and they are themselves trying to add some flavor into the universe, some dua into the ether that will counter whatever nazar or bad nazar or bad dua that Babar is going through right now, and just trying to take any and if and any pressure away from Babar as possible as fans. And so I think that was me trying to deflect at that moment, and I'm just glad it happened. I think this will open gates for a lot of runs for Babar Azam in the near and next future. I think this is a third phase of Babar's career that we are entering into. He is 31 years old. He has 4 to 5 years of good cricket left in him. There's 2 important ICC tournaments on the cusp of all of this. A lot is riding on just not the legacy of Babar Azam, but the legacy of Pakistan cricket. How do we take this icon and make sure that he ends in a place where the greats have in Pakistan cricket? If you look at where Babar Azam is with the century in ODIs, he's joint. He's, on number of innings, he's number 1, but just joint with Saeed Anwar. And Saeed Anwar wins you matches. Saeed Anwar wins you games. Saeed Anwar wins you games against India in World Cups. Saeed Anwar gets you centuries in World Cups. This is what is regarded and this is what is needed from Babar Azam moving forward. We have supported him throughout. We love that he's made this milestone. This feels like our milestone. And now that we're on the other side of it, I think it's time to get some confidence back. It's time to get the swing in the magic back into the bat, and time to score some big runs, man. Like, let's get another one on Sunday. Let's get another century on Sunday. Let's do it. Why not, right? And I'm glad that he was able to take names of the newer players as well, Saim, Hasibullah, in terms of people who have supported him, as well as Shaheen, Rizwan, Haris, the OG Grang. I think it's very important for everybody to become friends again in the circle of Pakistan cricket. This downfall or this down period or this flat line that Babar was riding for the past 2 years was needed. That's my hot take. You sometimes have to go through adversity to come out the other side a better player, a better person. And I think just the way he celebrated today gives me the indication that that's the case. And I was able to go back to all my cousins' group chats, all my friend group chats, and just let out a big moti gali to all the anti-Babar guys. You know you guys did that. Like, you guys know, if you're Babar Azam fans and you've been trying to support him through thick and thin, and you're just like, we're trying to support him, but the numbers aren't there. And then you just went out there and you just let it go. I know in the Patreon chat, we have Shiva, who's obviously an Indian cricket fan, and somebody made a Virat Kohli comparison, and everybody got so heated, and I love that. And I was like, yes, protect what you love. Do it. Today's the day. Don't let anybody tell you that, Virat was making his 71st century, he's making his 32nd. That was the gap in the 83 innings in between. That was the gap, and that's where Babar is. Don't let anybody say anything like that. Don't let anybody ruin your happiness. Enjoy it. Celebrate it. Rejoice it. This is a win for you if you're a boxing cricket fan. Because if Babar scores runs, we win. I think there's only been an instance of 3 or 4, maybe a handful of times where Babar has scored a century and Pakistan has lost. Very few times has that happened. And so if he scores runs like this on a consistent basis, no one's stopping us. No one's stopping boxing cricket. No one's stopping Babar Azam. It just needs to keep on happening. Wow, I've talked 30 minutes straight into the mic. Just raw feelings. No notes again. No internet to make notes. I think this is a really good opportunity for me to actually pen these feelings down into a newsletter as well. So I will be doing that. I will be writing what the 32nd century means to me in general as a newsletter Substack post. Again, we have not been regular on that, unfortunately. We've been trying to re-up it, and my goal for 2026 is to make their Substack as big as possible, to make the newsletter as big as possible. I think cricket writing in general has been lacking in terms of, just diverse voices. And I think that Backward Point has a platform to do that. So we will definitely be restarting that. This is a great place to restart that. So I might take this as a cue into writing again. I haven't done that in a while. Bashar is somewhere in Europe. Just I called him. He was going through his eat pray love thing, and so I called him, and he was like, "Bro, I was on a tour and like a sightseeing tour, and he had headphones on. He was like, I'm gonna black out. I'm not gonna watch any cricket, and he just couldn't do it. That's what this game does to you. You cannot take your eyes off when it's happening like this. And man, shout out to Team Sri Lanka for pushing along and pushing through their fears. Some of them legitimate, and they were able to push through and make it out today. And now Babar has his 32nd century, and Pakistan. It just feels like Pakistan cricket has been broken through its shackles, doesn't it? Like, what does the century mean to you? I would love to know. If you're a Pakistan cricket fan, if you're a Babar Azam fan, what does the century mean to you? Tell me in the comments. I'm going to be reading through them. For the next episodes, I will be getting guests. I have already reached out to some really fun and exciting people. If you're a pro sports cricket fan, you might get some of those guys. Cheyenne is on the cards. Emmer is still on the cards for us. We don't know who we might end up getting, but I'm trying to get as many voices as possible. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope this made sense. I hope what I was trying to articulate came out maybe a bit scrambled, maybe a bit jumbled, maybe a bit mumbled, but boxing cricket means a lot to me and Bashar, both. And I can speak for both of us when I say this. And when moments like this happen, and they're few and far between, but when they happen, they make us, how every like 15, 20 years, like couples, especially white couples or Christian couples, go out and like redo their vows. My vows are redone. I'm submitted for the next 5-7 years again. Like I'm in. They got me, and they got my brother, and they got my son. All of us, a new generation, will follow Babar Azam and boxing cricket into the light. Hopefully, and inshallah, as more games come through. There's some really exciting stuff happening in world cricket right now, which I'm like casually following. The Rising Air Asia Cup has started, and Surya Vancham, or what's his name? The Indian batter who scored 144 off 44 deliveries. What is that? Does that make sense to anybody else? Because it doesn't make sense to me. Pakistan has also won their first game in that tournament. The Qaid Azam Trophy is going on. I just sent a text to Shamil Hussain, who's like the top 4 run scorer in the Qaid Azam Trophy as well. Lots of awesome cricket going on. It's all leading to a crescendo as we speak. The Tri Series is just around the corner. It's gonna be fun. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you to Yashi Sports. I forgot to mention that. Usually Bashar does the ad reads. He's really good. Thank you to Yashi Sports for sponsoring this episode and for sponsoring all the other previous episodes. A little different one. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this. It was straight from the heart. Again, no notes. It's the open laptop with nothing else on it. And just free-flowing thoughts. Let me know what you guys think about Babar Century, about Pakistan's series win, about everything else. I'll be in the comments. Yeah. Congratulations, everybody. Cheers.